Every year, me and my wife, we go to the Eagles game in D.C. when they play the Commanders. This year, for undisclosed reasons, my wife will not be able to make the trip. Instead, my dad will be going with me, and we'll be traveling to Richmond and riding up with my uncle, my dad's brother, to the game because he has season tickets to the Commanders. And we want to hang out with them. My point is since my wife is not going, she has the 2009 CRV that I use as my quote-unquote out-of-town car because I drive a 97 4Runner, and it's not the best thing to drive out of town on an old suspension and about 15 miles a gallon. So you would think we would just take my dad's car. Well, there's the problem. So ever since I've known my dad, ever since I've been born, my dad has not owned a car, and he has only driven shop-owned vehicles or sometimes customers' cars with their permission to make sure they're fixed properly. So we don't have a car to drive, and while that might not be entirely true because we do have shop-owned vehicles we could probably drive, we're going to make an excuse and say we don't have a car to drive because we want to rent a car. And the car we want to rent is a Tesla. And we want to do this for two reasons. We want to drive a Tesla to see how it is, to see what all the hype's about. And two, we want to take a long trip with the Tesla and see how it does, to see what the future's really like with electric cars. Now, the trip we are intending on taking is from Roanoke to Richmond, which is about 180 miles, and then Richmond to D.C., and then from D.C. back to Richmond, and then from Richmond back to Roanoke. Now, we are on a bit of a time crunch because we have to be back in time for work at 8 a.m. on Monday, and the game that we are going to attend is at 1 o'clock on Sunday. So getting back to Richmond and then back to Roanoke could be quite of a problem. Now, we are doing this experiment, if you will, with a Tesla Model Y, which I believe is the highest quality electric vehicle that I can get my hands on at this time point. It has a good charging system, has a good charging infrastructure, and it charges fast. We do have supercharging capabilities, so this might help our trip a little bit. So initially, we're just going to take a straight drive from Roanoke to Richmond just to see how much mileage we lose, see how the supercharging is once we get into Richmond, and see if we can actually make the full trip or not. We're at 259 and we are pulling out of my neighborhood. 189 miles. Okay, so 189 miles. We should make it no problem. We got 2 hours and 50 minutes, and we're not going to make any stops. You good with that?
That's fine.
And I think we can make it 3 hours. So if the car can make it, we'll make it. So let's see what it can do.
Now our destination is 128 miles away, and we have 189 mileage range battery capacity.
188 left. We're at 70% battery here, and the thing we're the most worried about right now, honestly, is this mountain that we have to go over. And if you've ever been to Richmond and you've traveled 81, 66, or 64, I mean, you know what Afton Mountain is. Afton Mountain is a very big mountain, and it might take a little juice to get over. Other than that, we're going full steam ahead to Richmond. We should get into Richmond with 23% battery left. We're calculating in our heads. It seems like it's like 100 or 60 miles or 65 miles or so, somewhere in that range.
60 to 65 miles
is what we're thinking we're going to make it in. So hopefully we do. If not, there is some supercharging stations on our way. There is a little bit of a dead zone in an area between where we get on Interstate 64 and Charlottesville. It's a little area between there, and I believe that's Afton Mountain is right where we're going to go over there. So that's the dead zone that we're worried about, is getting over that mountain. And then once we get down, I think once we get rolling down the mountain, we might regenerate a little bit going down the mountain once we get up it. There we go. Now we got superchargers. So we got one right here in Stewart's Draft. Let's zoom out a little bit and see. There's one in Charlottesville right there. I'm not sure where Afton Mountain's at. I think maybe Afton's right here.
Afton's right if you go 81, get on 66.
Okay,
right
so we got one in Charlottesville. That's a little ways in Charlottesville, and then there's a dead zone after that, all the way to Richmond.
We'll have to stop at Charlottesville.
That's the dead zone I'm talking about. So there's a supercharging station. It's a little ways off the interstate in Charlottesville. We might might have to go there after Afton Mountain. This is the beginning of the ascend here. So this is gonna be straight up probably for another 10 miles, I would say. Well, maybe not that much, maybe 5 to 10 miles, somewhere in that range, probably like 8 miles.
So right now, just in our conversation, we're at 151 and 93.
We've lost 1 mile so far on battery life, basically. We lost 1 mile here. Going up. And
this is the top of Afton Mountain. That's where we're at. Beautiful up here.
We're gonna get over so we can coast a little better.
Okay, so after climbing and descending down Afton Mountain, we're still at 62 miles of despair when we reach our destination.
All right, we're in Richmond, Virginia. We are at my uncle's house. He's filming in there.
He's doing a video. I'm doing a video. We have 63 miles.
Once we made it to Richmond, we were very eager to see how the supercharging worked and see if we could actually make the trip to DC. The trip we just made was very encouraging for us. We made it here in the time allotted and the time it said it would, with the mileage it said it would, and the distance left that it said it would. Even going over Afton Mountain didn't make a difference at all. We regened every single mile right back going down it. So we were very encouraged by this, but we needed to see how long it took to supercharge so we would know if we could actually drive it about 500 miles the next day. All right, so we're just going to plug it up and see what happens. I don't know if this is free or if it's going to charge me. Oh, it is charging.
The software in the car?
I don't know, we're going pretty fast though. We got 900 miles an hour. It might bill the guy that owns the car.
It probably, yeah. So anybody can roll here.
The way these work now is, we'll just take this one off and look at it. I believe these 2 ports are DC voltage. So this is DC fast charging is what it is. So it's direct current directly into the battery. That's why it charges so fast. So our charging experience hasn't been that bad so far. We got my dad and my uncle talking out back. We've been here for about 30 minutes. We're almost at 80% charged already. And it looks like we would have another 30 minutes to wait to get the full charge. So we're probably just going to charge it to 80. Then we're going to take it back to the house because we're already at 211 miles. Don't get me wrong, the fast charging was impressive, but for the trip that we were going to make, we had to drive 240 miles, probably on 1 charge with traffic. And then we would have to charge again and drive another 180 miles back to Roanoke. The trip from DC to Richmond usually takes about 2 hours, and even if we had to stop and charge, that would add an extra 30 minutes. And we pretty much know that we're going to run into traffic, so driving back 120 miles with traffic on half a charge was not a gamble we were willing to take, especially after I lost 3 parlays on DraftKings. We got here last night. We drove the Tesla around a little bit, and we took it to the supercharging station. And at the supercharging station, we kind of decided we're not going to take this thing to the game. My Uncle Chris has got this nice Chevy Avalanche. It's nice and clean on the inside. Sticking with the gas today, so we're polluting, but it don't matter because we're going to drive the Tesla home later. Unfortunately, the charging infrastructure isn't quite there enough to make us comfortable driving this much mileage in this much time allotted to do so. Maybe if there was a faster way to charge, or maybe if this was my own Tesla and I didn't have to go to work the next morning at 8 a.m., I would be driving the Tesla and you would be watching me trying to make this trip right now. And it just turned out to be too many things to do and not enough time to do it. My uncle's 2004 V8 Chevy Avalanche made it to DC and back with not even a stop to fuel up. It just goes to show you how far we've come with combustion engines in 100 years, and it makes me think how far we will go with electric motors in the next 100 years. We did happen to see a Hummer EV in the parking lot of the Eagles game. Turns out someone was brave enough to make the trip in an electric vehicle after all. Maybe they didn't have as far to go, or maybe they know something that I don't. Regardless, electric vehicles are coming, and we got to get ready for them. But me, I'm going to continue working on my combustion engine projects for now. So you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel to make sure you do not miss any more of those project videos, because I have some more coming your way. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook to keep up with what I'm doing daily and some memes that I might send your way on my story. Thank you for watching, and whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, make sure you stay dirty, and you can just call me Eddie.